Hi, everybody. We are in another series in our AI in trade. Today, we are going to be with the Dane from Lowry Doors. Dane, thank you for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Dane, we have been in this industry on Lowry Door for 17 years, and also it's kind of family business for you. Can you tell about your story and Lowry Doors and about yourself?
Yeah, just starting with Lowry Doors, garage door company out of Utah, a little town called Orem, just south of Salt Lake City. Been around since 1950, so 75 years. Has been family operated for 4 generations now, and so soon to be five. I've been, like you said, here for 17 years. Obviously, also it's a family for myself. My father's been there for going
Mhm.
on 36 years or so. I got into it as a kind of a side gig to get me through college. Yeah, so it's supposed to be a temporary job. It was great.
Okay.
I could work 3 days a week and still get paid full time. And so awesome for me to get through college. I realized college wasn't for me, and they offered me a management position after I think my second year of being here. So at that time, we were pretty small as a company. We're not a huge company right now either,
Mm.
but even then, we were maybe 10, 15 employees max. We're roughly 40 now, but they offered me a position to be the management over installation of the doors. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I told them when they gave me that position, I said, I give you 5 years. If I
Mm.
don't do anything, because it was mostly for me. I said, if I don't do anything with this division, then I don't know that I'm necessarily the right person for the job. So after the 5 years, I did some reevaluation, and obviously it grew, but we were living in the Stone Age when it comes to reporting and all that kind of stuff. We were
Mm.
using a software called WinTAC, so it was
Mm.
all still one data server where all your information's stored. It's nothing on the
Mm.
cloud. So anyway, I did some reevaluation to try to make sure it wasn't just happenstance that things had
Mm.
changed. I stuck around. So I was in the field for about 12 years, and then Service Titan came around. We had to switch because WinTAC was no longer going to be supported. We found Service
Mm.
Titan, and here I am. So I got promoted into a desk job. So been here for,
Okay.
yeah.
So this industry shaped your life and career, and now you're doing this installation, and also I think you're leading the technology and the AI in this company. You're shaping the future of this company now.
Mhm.
And this industry is actually thought to be like an old school industry, but you're bringing technology and you're adapting AI. You also have some sacred souls just coming from the experience and other things. How do you actually manage that without actually losing what is special about Lowry? How do you just manage this adaptation in the technology and just also keeping your values and just your special sacred sauce?
I think it started with the original owners, obviously, but our reputation really meant something, and that just stuck with. And obviously, because it's in the same family, that
Mm.
reputation is still there, so still key. As I was mentioned before, we haven't always been the great at technology in general, but when it comes to technology, as far as garage doors and everything like that, there was always a precedent set in Lowry Doors.
Mm.
We would be on top of everything new coming out, every
Mm.
new toy, whatever it was, we were going to have our
Mm.
hands on it first. And so it really started with just different garage door openers and different attachments, different things like that, getting on some beta testing for that. And we got really good at it to the point where we can answer questions and we can still do the same thing because of our legacy. We got so good at it, we could answer questions that nobody else could, and we could do things that nobody else could because we had the knowledge behind that. And so being here for as long as I have been, I broke my foot, and so I was forced to be in the office, and then I got really good
Mm.
at Service Titan and
Mm.
reporting and that kind of stuff. And it
Oh.
was a natural transition. We weren't looking for that, but it made
Mm.
sense. And so I took all of that knowledge, or that need for knowledge, the newness, the
Mm.
latest and greatest in the technology of garage doors. And I brought that into Service Titan when we adopted that. I say Lowry Doors did, us as a
Mm.
whole. We brought that in. So if we're using a tool, if we're using something, then I want to make sure that I'm at the forefront of that tool. I want to make sure that I'm getting every little bit of revenue or ROI out of that tool as I possibly can. And so to ignore the fact that AI is coming into all of this. I have to use this tool. I can't
Mhm.
ignore AI until it just takes over or whatever. It's going to eventually replace certain things, and you might as well be at the forefront of that and know ahead of time how that's changing and be part of the change instead of just let the ship steer itself is something we always say at Lowry Doors. We don't want to let the ship steer itself. We want to
Yeah.
man that ship. We want to tell it where to go. And if you're not on these some stuff like this, like these calls and figuring out AI and how it fits into your work and everything like that, then you're going to be left out and you're just going to have to deal with what other people have built for you.
So you talk about change, and change is actually something that most people don't like. Not everybody likes change. And so when you're bringing a new technology, because you're leading most of the things in the company, so how are the other people actually reacted? So are they excited about it? Are they actually anxious about it, nervous about it? And how do you convince them?
Yeah, convinced. That's the hard part. And to say that everybody gets on board right away is
Mm.
there's no way.
Yeah.
I get excited about it because I can see the benefits of it because
Mm.
I'm here, I'm researching it and all that kind of stuff. And so when I
Mhm.
go to present it, everybody, it's you kind of get that, oh, great. What do we have to learn now? Before it's really, oh, great. What can this change? What can this help change? I'm willing to learn this. And because I've already learned it, I expect other people to be like, yeah, great,
Mhm.
let's get on board. Like, it's not going to be that way because they don't know what you know. They don't know how it will benefit them in whatever aspect of their work or personal life or whatever. So getting them that knowledge first of, okay, we're going to turn this on. It's not turned on yet. Let me tell you how it will benefit you before you decide you don't like
Mhm.
it right away. So walking them through the benefits of how it's going to improve their workflow, their accuracy, their numbers, and all that kind of stuff before you actually turn anything on is huge. A lot of people talk about, even with newness, it comes from not knowing the steps, not having your SOPs in place. And at Lowry Doors, we were terrible. We've gotten a lot better, but every time something changed, it was you go tell your people and I'll go tell my people, and then you just hoped that that was a thing. But really getting them to embrace it is getting them to fully understand why they need it. There are some that I've had to turn on where it's just, guys, you're going to have to deal with it. It is what it is. We have to use it this way. And not everything has been a huge benefit. I'm not saying that it takes any longer, but sometimes you have to run certain things a certain way. I have to add another click here or click there. Those things people don't usually get concerned about. It's the big new things. So what is AI going to do now? Or what is AI going to break is usually where the trepidation comes from. I think most everybody, when we first did the AI voice agents, it was,
Mhm.
we hadn't even gone live yet. And we're going to have this, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have this. And guess what we did? We had almost everything they mentioned. They're going to book it at the wrong place, and they're going to overpromise. They're going to do this, and all of it happened. But you don't know it's going to happen until you turn it on, and you can't fix it until you turn it on
Mhm.
and run it. And that's, we were at the forefront with Service Titan with the AI voice agent. And
Mm.
immediately on the phone, hey guys, you got to turn this off. It's not working. They're overbooking. They're promising things, and things go wrong. But again, if you're not on the forefront of it, and I think that's where my
Mm.
team gets concerned because most of the stuff that I'm turning on is in beta. And
Mm.
so they're like, okay, is it really on fully or are we beta testing? How much stuff is going to break before this is going to be
Mm.
beneficial? But again, all of those things are crucial. We mentioned a little bit last time about Atlas and how
Yeah, I was about
Jen and myself have been, we're on a few different boards with Service Titan, been asked about what
Mm.
function Atlas should do, or how much integration should it have with your customers and that kind of stuff. Again, we would not have that input had we not pushed forward for being on those boards and knowing as much information as we could about this tool that we're using that costs a lot of money but is well worth it if you utilize it
Mm.
correctly.
So you're taking initiatives in this area, and also actually in our industry, we also call your type of people the early adopters. Everybody wants to work with the early adapters. I think the service titan is right about choosing you or working with you. So you are working as a design partner, help them to shape and test their product. During that journey, like you're an operator, your real insights comes from you. What surprised you in this area, and also what actually made you excited about the AI?
Honestly, for me, I love information, and it really goes back to, especially because it's my job. I had
Mm-hmm.
a friend a while back. This was before college. It was right before we started. He came from a very wealthy family. I came from blue collar, humble means. But he was a great guy. His dad worked his butt off to get what he had. And his dad told him, and he told me, he said, the key to being successful is to work or be the best at whatever you do. And it doesn't matter if you're scrubbing toilets or whatever, be the best at that and you'll be successful. And so I've taken that into every aspect of my life that I can. And so when it comes to adopting I look at it as just that, a learning tool. It's a tool to help with productivity and that kind of stuff as well, but it's a huge learning tool. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a no-brainer to me to adopt it early because I like to learn. And the faster I can learn something, the better, right? That's the whole point of everything, isn't it? Speed to lead type of thing. We got to get things done right now. We don't have time to wait.
Yeah, so you told about me that okay, you had some bad experience in the beginning, like the voice agents, but I think you also have some real wins with the AI, right? Especially in the back office. Can you just tell about those stories? What actually didn't work for you with the AI?
Yeah, so the some big wins that we had, we I was mentioning on the last call that we had is we didn't even know that was going to be a thing. We just signed up with Max Pro, so we're going
Mm,
live. Max Pro is a Service Titan provider thing, so getting all that set up and they're turning things on here and there. We all of a sudden there was a follow up that was from AI because Atlas went live, and so we had a couple pretty high paying jobs that came out of it as an automated follow up feature that came
mm,
from directly turning on some of the AI functions again that we didn't know, we didn't necessarily set up. It was
mm,
just a pre-set up thing as you're going on, and sometimes the Service Titan takes a couple days sometimes for things to kind of kick in, and then but anyway, again, some of the big wins obviously is that we are not the greatest at following up with customers
mm,
because we don't have a lot of time. So I've got a couple sales
mm,
guys, and
mm,
then to follow up with every single one of their customers, they do about 7 sales calls a day is max. Some of the really big ones they'll do 3 or so, but so we aren't following up as often, as early as necessary with the different customers. And so that was something that was brought to our attention real clearly once we had that AI turned on through marketing campaigns and stuff like that, that we had built but hadn't gone live with until we started doing these other Max programs. It turned stuff on, and here all of a sudden we're getting phone calls for $10,000 jobs out of nowhere. So whatever went wrong with Dory is what our AI voice agent is called. It made up for by bringing us more jobs. So you have your hiccups here and there. But again, I don't look at it as something going wrong. I think I look at it as something that needs to be fixed in the program, right? It's the
yeah,
process that needs to be fixed.
yeah. So the other thing that in this industry, tech generated leads are big. In some verticals, it's 80% of the business. But you also told me that you are not commissioning your technicians for that.
Yeah.
So you are working in a very non-traditional way
Mm.
compared to other trade businesses. In my previous conversations with other people, they still think that the AI actually may not be the main part. But you have some
Yeah.
ideas over there about using AI for the sales person, especially technicians on the field.
Yeah, and I can't say they're all my ideas. I got called out for calling it naturally. It's not technically naturally. We're in charge of everything. So with Field Pro, it's a total AI agent that will give the technicians scorecards based off of conversations they have with customers, things like that. Hey, you could have mentioned this, that kind of
Mm,
stuff. But it will only mention that stuff as we set it up in the back end. We are a little bit different in the way that we pay our technicians. And we're that way because we don't want our technicians to all be just sales. We don't want them
mm,
to upsell, upsell, upsell. We don't want them dependent on if this next ticket is not $2,000, then I'm going to get fired. I don't want them to be concerned about them. I want them to be concerned about the customer. So in a lot of ways, that makes them not great salesmen at all because they're not used to it.
But success is the best seller, so it's actually you're just making them successful and just actually making customer happy. So that's also a sales process.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like I was telling you before, if I've got a great technician and I can put him out there in the field and he can take care of the job, he can do what needs to be
Mm,
done as far as getting the
mm,
customer taken care of. And now I've got this tool that can be used as a sales helper for my technician to now be a
mm,
salesman. And that's a no-brainer for me. I would rather train him to be a technician
mm,
100% then even train him as 80% technician and 20% salesman because now I've got a tool that will allow him to utilize the sales aspect of the call because like you said he's up there he's in front of a customer so no better
mm.
time than now to make that kind of sale
Yes.
and so with it being on the back end, I can set up the AI and I can have it generate certain things to look for in the conversations to help now
Mm,
train the technician and give the technician suggestions even right there in front of the customer of new parts that could
mm.
be ordered, recommendations and that kind of stuff. Things
Yeah.
that the technician might not have thought of.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. What does those scorecards show to you and also to the technician? How do actually technicians react in this kind of visibility? Do they like it or do they not like it?
That is actually up to we haven't told them yet, so we
Oh,
haven't gone
okay.
live. Yeah, we haven't gone live with that one.
Okay.
We're planning on doing that actually tomorrow, letting them
Oh.
know. But I was having the conversation, a guy that came in after me, he's one of our other directors, Mike Miller. He's actually the director over operations. And he's just so nervous about telling them because they're gonna
Mm,
lose it. They're gonna say, "How dare you?" Because what it
mm,
does is once that technician arrives to the job, then it starts recording right away. And so any conversations that he has, obviously it doesn't record a phone call that he takes or something like that. But once he arrives, it will record. And nobody wanted it. He says nobody will want it. It's just terrible, all that kind of stuff. But it's the way you present that information. And so I
mm,
flipped it on him. I said, "No, Mike, I think everybody's going to love it because they have the ability to turn it off whenever they want. They can pause it when they need
mm,
to. And there is need for that. There's certain places that we go that we can't have recording,
mm,
military bases, that kind of stuff. But there's so many he said, she said things that's what that scorecard tells us. And so even for little things like when they come back, did you try to sell them something? Did you try to do this? Did you try if you're working on one to one, you only have one side of that conversation, right? You're just trying to say, you tell me the conversation and I'll tell you what you should have done better. He's not going to remember the entire conversation. The AI does. And so
mm,
when I present it in a way where technicians, guys, I just want you to record the conversation that you and the customer have so that one, it protects you from that he said, she said stuff. We've been accused of stealing ladders, that kind of stuff. So, of the obvious protections that way, it
mm,
also protects you in what you told them as far as you're selling them, what they told you. Very beneficial when it comes to selling, that kind of stuff, when you're using that as a follow up. Because we haven't had it go live, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but there's a couple different scripts you can choose from, and then you can make your own of what the AI voice is looking for. Specifically, did I park my truck in an appropriate spot for you? Or did he go over the 20-point inspection or whatever that you
mm,
have? Did he present an estimate? Did he talk about financing? Did he? And you can customize those based on different roles. So, technician role, sales role, like a CSR role, that kind of stuff. And then it will grade them based on that out of 100%. And then it will show them based on the 8 categories or something like that that you can have, it will rank them on each one of those and tell them what they had. And then they have a recording, and it can go to that recording and show them on their phone all through the app where they had that conversation. And so again, that's all depending on how we set up in the back end. And then that trains the technicians in the field. Oh, okay, yeah, I get asked about this because I got a low score yesterday
mm.
about that one. So
It just
automatically it just
it
clicks.
will just whisper to the
Yeah,
technicians.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so We talk about how you are using AI, just leveraging AI. Let's flip the coin now. So let's look at from the customer side. Now, AI is actually very reachable. Everybody can access it. Your customers are using AI, so they're
Yeah.
actually learning and asking questions about your job. I think it also affects how they want you to work. So how's the customers' AI
Mhm.
experience just affects your business, and how do you handle those kind of situations?
Absolutely. So the AI can be wrong, just like the internet can be wrong, just like books
Mm,
can be wrong. And the specific example you were talking about is just a specific configuration of a door that wasn't manufactured by anybody. So it
mm,
had to be a certain rating, but then had to also be a certain thickness of steel, but then also have to have a certain horsepower of motor to run it and also be a certain size. Now, when you put all of that together, in the industry, there's no manufacturer that makes that. AI took all that information, and if there was a manufacturer that made it in that spec, then it would have worked, obviously. But the fact is that specific configuration of a door, because of specifically the horsepower of the motor and the thickness of the steel and what the spec rating was supposed to be, doesn't exist. And so we had to spec it out and gave them an estimate and everything like that, send it back. We caught it and let them know, but they didn't
mm.
actually listen to it. So they signed the estimate. So we showed them the estimate. It didn't match exact specs that they wanted. So they signed it and they sent it back. And then now we have it. We're calling them to install it. And they're like, actually, they don't match the specs in there because of AI. Now the customer, it's for the city. And so the city planner is coming back, say we need documentation, and so we've got to go to 3 different of our vendors to get documentation that door can't be built and that the doors that we did order for you were correct. And so it caused us a big problem. We ordered what the customer needed and we let them know, but we just didn't really follow up with them on the full detail. So maybe we could have gotten ahead of that, but it caused a big fiasco and the doors were sitting in our warehouse for a couple weeks longer than they should have been. We could have gotten paid earlier. So there are some faults, but did AI get it wrong? Just in the fact that it nobody makes
Mm,
it, but if somebody did, then it would have been correct. So those little things of somebody being around for as long as we have been, we know the industry, we know all the manufacturers, we know all the
mm,
different
mm,
vendors, so we know what they make. And
mm.
this one specifically, because we're up to date on all the latest and greatest, we caught that early, and it wasn't even somebody that has even been in the field, but she's an estimator. She's great, and she's been doing it for a long time, but she caught it because of the knowledge that Lowry Doors has.
Got it. So can we just say that, okay, AI is good, but I think in some areas the human interaction or the human judgment is non-negotiable? Or do you think that the AI will actually become better?
I think AI makes better decisions sometimes, but there's always going to be bad AI out there because of
Mm,
people that make bad AI. But it's the same thing as we have on the internet. Not everything on the internet is true. Not everything in books are true. You have to do your research. And I feel like that's where people fall short when it comes to AI when they're talking about it, even in especially in a negative way or a
mm,
scared way. People are taking AI as gospel, as truth. Guys, it's not always the truth. Or it's the truth in certain circumstances, not in the circumstances you're referring to. And but again, I think it's just you have the knowledge. You want answers to a question you have, sure, ask AI, but make sure that is still true. Still make it show you the references and then go and check those. Make sure that's really true. If it's something that you're passionate to research, especially when it comes to your job, I don't think that it is any different than going to a library or going to the internet. Everything that we had before required background checks and
mm.
site checks. AI is no different. And I don't think it ever will go away, like I said, because there are people out there that make it so it won't.
Mm.
Could it? I still don't know that it could because it still doesn't know different situations and scenarios, and it can't really see that. There's always going to have to be a human interaction.
The next question will be people just want to adapt AI to replace some people. So there's some scary stories, there's just predictions about it. But what I see from your story is that actually you are using AI to fill the gaps. You told that you're actually using AI to do follow-ups. Then before that,
Mhm.
you weren't actually doing it fully. And also, you are not just spending anything on the marketing before,
Mhm.
while the most businesses spend 33% of their revenue to the marketing and leads. You didn't have it, but you now have it. So you didn't have follow-ups. Now you have it with the AI.
Mhm.
So it's actually not just replacing things, but it's actually filling the gaps, enabling the functions that you need in your business to make it better.
Yeah, the big thing with us, because of the size of a company that we are, and I think this goes with all companies that are about our size, so the mid-range, mid to small range, everybody that works for us wears lots of hats, obviously, just because of the
Mm,
nature of the size of the business. And so we all have good intentions of doing certain things like
mm,
marketing, like following up, and it's just not high priority because we also need to take care of the customer. Do I put off taking care of a customer and go work on marketing for a little bit, or but this customer's already paying. Why am I putting a paying customer off to go try to get other customers? It does that. So as far as filling the gaps, that's where the AI comes in. So now I can take a day, set up the marketing campaigns, set up the follow-up stuff, everything that way, and then just let that run until I
mm,
decide to change it again. So instead of it doing it every day, I put off a customer to do marketing, I just put all customers off for a day, set it up, and then go back
yeah.
to work as normal and come back and check on it once a week or once a month as it comes on. It really fills that gap. And that's where people get concerned because, oh no, it's taking over jobs and that kind of stuff. And yes, it is to an extent, but those jobs wouldn't be available anyway because we don't technically have the money to hire somebody different to
Mm,
just do marketing or hire somebody different to just do follow ups and that kind of stuff.
yeah. That's a very good point, actually.
So AI is way cheaper. So I'm spending, you can get really expensive, but even the most expensive AIs, 30, $40,000 a year is still less than the 60, $50,000 a year salary that I would have to pay
Yeah.
with marketing. Again, it is 100% the way you set it up. If you set it up wrong, then it will function wrong. If you said, yes, Sundays are open and it booked for Sunday, it's because you said Sundays were open to book. But again, you take a company our size and then you double or triple us, it almost shifts, I almost feel like, where AI then, because of the amount of people you have, starts to cost a little bit more than a person to do that job. And so then you pay a person to do that job until you get more employees. Then you pay AI to automate that part of it. And so I feel like there's always going to be that balance, if that makes sense.
So maybe we can just come to the hard truth too. In our industry, in the software development, AI actually is making so much impact. So it's really replacing, especially entry-level jobs. So you already adapted AI. So did it replace any jobs in your company already? Or what did you do with those people?
Yes, it has replaced and very quickly will replace another one, but it's replaced a lot of our accounting side of the job. And again, it's interesting that you go that route because an accounting person was always something that was needed for a business, but now it's almost the opposite. Accounting is almost not necessary for a business.
Mm,
You could have an accounting firm that helps you, but really some of that has gone away. But really, just the two, and really it was just repurposing that. So most
mhm,
of their function got taken away, automated. But because we took away a lot of the functions of this role, but then that opened up their availability for a lot more functions that we didn't really know were needed. And I think because we all wear a lot of hats, that can happen in our size of
mhm,
the company. But when you start to get a really big company, there's not really any other functions that you can absorb. If you lose 50% of your functions, then there's not anything else to absorb. So for us, fortunately for us, yes, they were able to stay and absorb other functions, but it's the hard truth. Everything new, something has to leave for something new to come in.
yeah.
And it's gonna replace jobs. It's also gonna create jobs.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Because you are using AI now very efficient, so it just helps you grow, creating more revenue. Do you think that it's creating jobs too once you're growing? Do you think that the headcount will still be same, or actually you will
Yeah.
need more people because the AI needs to be adjusted also because you cannot just make it accountable or liable for everything.
Mhm.
So actually you can just make people accountable. Can we also conclude that AI may create jobs just by
Yeah.
making companies grow?
Absolutely. You could even given like the dystopian type side of it and where everybody's just gonna be sitting at a desk and working an AI system, or even crazier, they're just gonna be talking to an AI or fixing an AI that's talking to another AI that somebody else is working on. But it almost is getting that crazy with the amount of AIs that you have to keep track of, the amount of functions and stuff like that. Without getting that crazy, some of the functions have been managing those AIs. And so the only really difference in it is that it's not a 40-hour a week
Mm,
job. It's a maybe 10-hour max, maybe 10 hours every month max, just changing certain things depending on which one you're working with. So, but again, I don't know. Replacing jobs, yes. Creating jobs, yes, because of the amount of knowledge that is out there now for everybody. And everybody, they're going to be people that don't know how to use it. There's always going to be human interaction with it because there's
mm,
other humans involved. I think it will take jobs away for a time until it kind of starts to take off even bigger, and then it starts to really create jobs until something else comes along that replaces something else.
mm.
It'll have that lull for a little bit, and then because of that, something else will come of it.
I think that those were great insights. Now AI is actually a big shift, but it's not the last one. You had also other shifts in this industry. What kind of big shifts have you seen, and how can you compare it with the AI? Is this just another one, or did it actually change lots of things?
If you look at the garage door industry as a whole, you've had a lot of really big changes. And a lot of people don't look at it or don't even think about it until it
Hmm.
breaks or until they're ready to sell their house. It's the ROI on your garage door. It's the number one thing you can do for the appearance of your house to increase the value. Your ROI on a garage door is like 190% for the resale on your home. It went from having a solid piece door that just opened like that and would hit anything that was sitting out there to having actual sections. So it actually went all the way up into the back of your garage. The differences of that is that you worked on one style of door. So you have all those parts, you have all those things necessary, and then you start working on two types of doors. So now you have to carry twice as much, and then it shifts to now you only have a little bit of that one because everybody's shifting over to the new one, and it makes that shift. And you can take that into the AI or the software industry as well. You always see that shift. There's that middle, that transfer point. That's the pain point because now I've got to carry double the amount of hardware as where I used to. So when
Mm,
is it going to be beneficial? And then you get on the other side. Now I've got to carry less hardware because this door is better built. And so I don't have to carry the old stuff anymore. And we move
mm,
on. Garage door operators have been the same. When the photo eyes first came out, that was a huge one
mm,
because they were code, they're mandatory. Customers
mm,
hated it, and they would bribe you to have you stick them up, facing each other or try to override them. Even to this day, I'll get homeowners that don't want it. So it is still a fight to get people to use
mm.
safety devices that were invented for you to keep people
Yeah,
safe. So
like a
it's
seatbelt.
yeah. And so just the changes in industries or in the garage door industry as far as that goes, the safety devices that have to be done now, I feel like every 2 to 3 years a different safety device has to be added to the commercial line of doors because something
Mm,
happened, somebody got hurt some way. Software is no different.
mhm,
People, like you mentioned at the very beginning, people have AI, the ability to do that. I get asked that question, are you afraid that people are going to start asking AI how to fix their garage doors and how to do certain things? And I
mhm,
say, honestly, I say great because it sounds really counterintuitive, but if more people used it to fix the small problems,
mm.
then we would have more time and more resources to be able to fix the big problems, if that makes
Ah, okay.
sense. So
Mm,
little things that take 20, 30 minutes, which end up taking the technician an hour and a half
mm,
of his day because of the drive time, everything like that. And there's a plumbing company here, I can't remember the name of it, but they started putting DIY like jobs on their website because plumbing
mm,
is notorious for trying to find videos and stuff like that to try to do it
mm,
yourself. And so they started putting, here's how to fix this small problem. That's going to take my tech coming out there literally 5 minutes to fix this problem that you can do on your own. I love that idea. And I was actually working with our last marketing guy on some things like that with AI helping us create some of the dialogue and the video of how to do that. So not just taking a video of a technician, but a step by step of how to look at your doors and stuff like that. With the we already train our CSRs and that kind of stuff to go over that over the phone, or at least try to, because again, I know it seems like we do, but we really don't want to charge you two, three, four, $500 for a 10, 15-minute fit. But with AI, it could go ahead, go ask AI what's wrong with your door. At least do that before you call and spend two, $300 on something honestly you probably could fix yourself.
Got it. Okay, we're just coming to end of our conversation. So it was very entertaining for us. Lots of great insights from you. Learned a lot from you. And how do you think that the future of trade business will like? What will happen to the companies who are not just embracing the AI? What will be the difference?
I think it's the whole natural selection, honestly. Things will happen. Either they'll embrace the AI early enough to
Mm,
still be on the forefront, or they won't and they'll stick to their guns. They'll stay small. A lot of these really small businesses in places, and honestly, even as Lowry Doors, if I said, guys, we're not going to do it, and I cut my staff in half, and I say, guys, we're going to be
mm,
a 10-person business. We're not going to have more than 10 employees ever. And people are okay with that. That's fine. Okay, then sure. If you make that decision, I think the people that do it without making a decision are going to get steamrolled in a way. I don't think it's going to be
mm,
overnight. I think to them it might feel like it's overnight, but it's
mm,
just more they just weren't paying attention. They just weren't seeing the signs that
mm.
were coming. And so I think it just again natural selection will show you who decided to take the next step and who decided not to.
Got it. So last question is to you insight. You are using service Titan Atlas, ChatGPT, Gemini that you previously told me. What kind of tools you are using and how do you choose them as a suggestion to the listeners?
For us specifically, honestly, when we were first getting into it, Jen, one of my other directors, she and I started with ChatGPT and she started with Gemini, and so that's it, there was no research necessarily to go into that. Other than the fact of it was said that Gemini is better at marketing side and stuff like that, and
Mm,
ChatGPT is more about the analytics and the stuff that I do,
mm,
breaking down the reports. And we find that to be pretty true. Gemini does an okay job of summarizing a report for me, but with ChatGPT, and maybe it's because of the way I've set mine up, obviously it learns with you how you do certain things. But when I throw an Excel file in ChatGPT, it's okay, I'm going to do this and this for you. I feel like with Gemini, it's almost like starting over every time. And maybe
got it.
I'm not using it the best. I think Atlas struggles in that as well. I can't carry on a conversation. Sometimes it feels
Got it.
so. For me, some of those things, it feels like chat understands that everything I ask it, it absolutely needs to verify and check because of the nature of my job. As far as I need to show accurate numbers, I can't have you rounding things up. I can't have
Mm.
you do it. No, when I ask you for the numbers, just that. Just don't try to read between the lines for me. Just
Yeah,
give me
don't
what I want.
forget. So, thank you, Dane. Thanks for sharing your stories, insights, and your predictions in this industry. I don't know if you have something to say more, but
No, I'm grateful that you guys had me on. I'm grateful to chat about the stuff that I'm genuinely interested in, I love, and I care about, which is crazy because, again, like I
mm,
told you before, I'm a hands-on guy. If you would have told me 6 years ago that I was going to be sitting at a desk doing exactly what I'm doing now, I would have. There is no way on this planet that you could tell me right now or back then that I would have been excited for the next AI to come out in Service Titan or something like that. But it's just it goes to show, like I said, I had an injury, I had to adapt, I had to overcome, and eventually I'm stoked about the next what's next. And like I said, Lowry
mm.
Doors will absolutely be on the forefront of it.
Yeah, I think it is the lack of Lowry Doors.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also goodbye, everybody, and see you at the next episode. Thank you.